Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlaw Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlaw Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome. Access to Democracy welcomes not only a new guest, but a new city administrator for the City of Eagan, Dave Osberg. And Dave has held that position for a few months now. They managed to keep me from him so he wouldn't get scared off and go back to Hastings, which was always a possibility. They usually keep me in a closet or locked up, as you viewers know. But welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Alan. Glad to be here. First time I met you was about a half hour ago, and it's a treat to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, what so far have you found in similarities between Hastings, where you were for almost
24 years, I was in a day,
and Eagan?
You know, Alan, it's been a question that others have asked, and I've tried to compare it to a little bit like riding a bike, in that the bike, it's a new bike. It's a little bigger and faster here in Eagan. There's much to learn in my first about 8-9 weeks or so since March 25th. Very familiar with Eagan before I started in late March, so I'd say probably the thing that's been the most similar is it's similar type of department heads in the City of Eagan, from police and fire and planning and finance and park and rec, similar to what I had in Hastings. So it's just a little more rapid pace and obviously much bigger. But
you're familiar with Eagan.
I am very familiar with Eagan.
Not only did you intern for a year under Tom Hedges, but I happen to know that in 1983 you proposed to your wife Lori right here in Eagan.
You've done your homework, absolutely. Timber Shore Lane, a townhome development, at that time relatively new, proposed to my wife Lori, and I'm thankful that she said yes. We got married in April of 1984 in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, which is Lori's hometown. And 29 years later, we celebrated our anniversary back in late April, and we were just talking about that the other day, and she remembered the clumsiness of the proposal more than I did. I probably wanted to forget it.
And there are several other Osbergs as a result of that union.
Yes, we have 4 children, Alan. Thank you for asking. My son Mike and his wife live in Seattle, Washington. They were married last August. My son Dan he's 24, lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Mike is the only one married, my oldest. My daughter Sarah's just graduated from the College of St. Benedict 3 weeks or so ago, and my son John is finished his freshman year at the University of Minnesota. So 4 great kids, and my wife Lori is a school teacher over at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in Hastings.
Now, there has to be quite a bit of tumult as a result of moving from Hastings, and I know you're looking for property in Eagan. Local realtors pay heed. We have an extra room, that's all I can offer you, but explain really the process of a little bit of background and then applying for the Eagan job and where you find yourself now.
And tumult's a good word for it, Alan. The whole process, if you will, started. I submitted my application in late November, so right around Thanksgiving time. And as I've shared with many people, and I think it had been noted in some other media sources, I don't know, struggle's the right word, but took my time trying to decide whether or not I wanted to apply for the position.
Well, I happen to know that when you were struggling, and couldn't make up your mind, it was Lori who said, go for it, because if you don't, you'll never forgive yourself.
And you're absolutely correct. And she told me that you want to at least put your hat in the ring, as the saying goes, and recognize that in positions like this, as I think everyone knows, the candidates are interviewing the employer as much as anything. And so I came into it with an open mind, saying if it doesn't work out, if they pick someone else, I have a wonderful situation at the time as the administrator in Hastings, and as it turned out, they after the 2 days, essentially 2 days of interviews, they selected me, and we made the decision, once the agreement and everything was sorted out, that we were I was taking the job. Started in late March, but the whole sequence between probably early January to late March until I came over here was kind of a tumultuous but a rewarding 2-3 months or so. People here in Eagan were very receptive to me coming to become the next and second and city administrator in Eagan. People in Hastings were very gracious in saying, congratulations, wish you well, thanks for all you've done for us. Several said, wish you
Well, we
weren't going.
think of Hastings as the second best city in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
there you go. It's the county's.
But we know that the best city in Minnesota is right here.
I'll be able to say that I worked in the second, the county seat of Dakota County, and now the largest city in Dakota County. So
I know
kind of-
Hastings well because that's where I go to pay my speeding tickets.
Okay.
So
Hopefully you don't get one when you go over there. But in any event, it was kind of a surreal 2 months or so, and obviously wanted to get things at a reasonable stage before I left Hastings, and was very concerned of leaving it in good hands, if you will, and all at the same trying to learn about Eagan. I came over to Eagan for a couple council meetings, sat in the audience, was reading documents in advance of my start in late March, and so it was a rapid learning curve, not only before I got here, but certainly since I started in late March or so. But and now the whole, as you allude to, Alan, that we're trying to get our house that we've lived in for 17 years ready for sale. My wife's a school teacher. She told me the other day, as soon as school's over, on Friday the 7th of June, she'll start painting and getting things ready. We've done
Which
a
is
garage-
today,
Yeah,
so-
start a garage sale.
Lori, if you're watching this,
Yeah.
and get on your painting clothes.
Well, she can wait till Monday, maybe have a weekend to rest. But in any event, we've raised 4 kids in that house, and it needs that fresh coat of paint, maybe fix that handle on the cupboard that you kind of set aside for a
Also a
while.
lot of memories
Yes.
that are hard to separate yourself from.
That's a great point, Alan, in that our youngest was 2 when we moved in 96. Our youngest, John, was 2, and our oldest, Mike, was probably 8 or so. So we raised our kids there, had 4 graduations from high school, parties at the end of the school year to recognize that. 2 of our kids were born in Hastings, so there are a lot of memories, and my wife and I talked about that considerably. The nest is, if you will, empty, so the fact that no kids are being disruptive from their high school or younger school years
That's
makes
an
it a little
important
easier.
consideration.
Yeah.
It certainly was one for Sharon and myself, and our children are older, and they were all out of the house, which made moving to Eagan much easier.
And that's, Alan, I've told people too, if this position would have opened up, let's say 4 years or so ago, or in that range, we might have been in a spot where it maybe the timing didn't feel right, or if it's maybe 4 or 5 years from now, maybe the timing doesn't feel right. But it was really a sweet spot in my personal life with my wife and family and my professional career, and 9 weeks later or whatever, it's been a great start.
Well, we have a great television operation here, thanks to Thomson Reuters, thanks to the city, and we'll talk more about that because I know that the television franchise is coming up in a year, which is a big consideration for us, particularly with Comcast,
Right.
who I just had more problems with last night, but be that as it may. But there's one thing that troubles me. I know that you are a frustrated announcer, and you were the color commentator for the Hastings Raiders for 5 or 6 years for their football team. Now, can we expect you to step in here in Eagan? Do you have divided loyalties? This is really important.
Well, as a little bit of a background, one of the great kind of side opportunities I've had for I think 7 of the last 9 years is to serve as a color commentator for the Hastings Raiders football games on the local radio station. And my plan is to do it one more year, and then after that, we'll see what happens. They'll find someone else to do that. It's really great fun, and you can probably appreciate this. Every Friday for 8 weeks or so in the fall, I put that headset on, and next to my play-by-play partner, Nick Tuckner, who's a great young man, and it's like 3 hours of nothing but football in front of me, and the only thing, by and large, I can hear is his voice and my voice, and football is probably my favorite sport, so it's just been a great treat to be a part of that. And as I think many recognize, there's nothing more fun to do for many of us on a Friday night than watch high school
I love
football.
radio, and I do a lot of radio on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And what I like about it is I can walk in jeans and a polo shirt and slap on the headset, and it doesn't make any difference to the people on the other end because they're attached to the voice.
Well, and as you can probably appreciate too, some of the fun is, if you will, behind the scenes. Nick and I and another gentleman, we have a great rapport. We kind of tease and joke off the air before the game. We like to get there about 2 hours ahead of time, and we throw the football around, and then the trips to the 4 or 5 road games are kind of fun. We all ride together, so it's been a nice kind of hobby's not the right word, but a side job. And the folks in Eagan recognize that I've wanted to do it another year or so, and so come late August, we'll do it for one more year, and it'll be a great experience. So I don't think Eagan or Hastings will ever play. So
we'll have to give you a tryout and then work you into
maybe
either ETV or. And we do have people who have been broadcasting on
and
ETV.
I wouldn't want to take anything from anyone else away. I might want to
there's
just go
always
and be a fan.
Always room for one more. That's,
But it's been a great fun. To get a little stipend to talk about football is kind of a nice little bonus.
Are you a Twins fan by
Yes,
any chance?
absolutely. Twins fan, born and raised in Minnesota all my life, and all the 4 major sports. Have a little mini season ticket, 5 or 6 game Twins packet.
Sometimes it becomes hard to become a Twins fan. And I've done a lot with the Twins. We've had the entire front office in here. We've probably interviewed over the years 60 of the players.
Okay.
We go on the field. We haven't done it this year, but we go on the field and interview them on the field in the front office. As a matter of fact, Bill Smith is coming in here in 3 weeks, our next broadcast, the Vice President of Communications, and or whatever it is, his title is, and he's been here many times.
I'm actually going next Friday. They're having an induction ceremony for former Twin Eddie Guardato, and I don't know if you know the name Tom Mee. Tom was the
Yes, Tom was really so devoted to Minnesota sports. That,
his sons were some of my best friends growing up in White Bear Lake, so when I had a chance to draft, if you will, Alan, our tickets for the game, and I knew that Mr. Mee was going to be inducted, I specifically wanted to get the June 14th game, and I'm hoping to see one of his sons was probably my best friend growing up for 4 or 5 years.
We have partial seasons, and we go.
Maybe we'll see you there next Friday night.
It could be. It's although they sometimes have been hard to watch lately, but
I think they're better this year. They seem to be. When they're playing well, they're playing better than they did last year. And
the last 2 nights in Kansas City have not been easy.
I'm glad I had things to do each of the last 2 nights and didn't watch.
Now, back to Eagan.
Sure.
You come in a really interesting time. We have Cedar Grove, which has been an eyesore for years, suddenly burgeoning into this incredible shopping center. We have someone that wants to build a hotel there. How much of that have you gotten into and familiar with?
More familiar than into or any sort of influence. John Hohenstein's done a great job of filling me in as our community development director on the Cedar Grove and then that whole area of
John does a great job.
He really does.
Yeah.
He's just a wealth of knowledge, both today and institutional knowledge of many of the things that have gone on in Eagan. The groundbreaking ceremony on Tuesday, I was a part of it, but I felt a little sheepish because I really had nothing to do with it, of course, but it was a the mayor did a great job welcoming Paragon as the Paragon officials did. And I think it's a great shot in the arm, and then some, for the community of Eagan. And a lot of hard work has gone into that.
I see
over
it
the
turning
years.
in a lot of tax money.
Yeah.
And our taxes have been great. This has been a great community for holding the line, even
Right.
during the tough times. And of course, we haven't relied on the state for money for the most part,
No.
because Hedges was a terrific administrator, and I hear the same of you.
Well,
so,
hopefully that can be true.
And in addition, they're talking about 2,000 jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're talking about building a four-story, what is it, a residence home?
Yeah, just kind of a conceptual approval took place on Tuesday night by the city's EDA, which is in a sense, of course, the city council. There's still about 3 or 4 other outlots that trying to sort out exactly what the best use, or not the best use, but what the uses will be for that. And so I think that the thing, Alan, that I think people are excited about is just the energy and the vibrancy that will go on down there. Like you alluded to, it's been eyesore, dormant, open space for several years, and now with the Paragon coming in, I think it's just going to sprout up all sorts of energy and activity. You've got the transit station down in that area. The bus rapid transit's going to open in 2 weeks or so, I think. So just an awful lot of energy is going to take place
We're
down
doing
there.
2 other interviews today, and following you is Chief McDonald, who is a terrific police chief. Jim has done a marvelous
He is
job.
Mac's a great
I
guy.
would guess that the Eagan Police Department is going to have to expand as a result of some of these new things that are coming in. They're going to have to hire some new officers.
Well, one of the things that's on mine and the management team's desks are 2014 budgets. I think they're all due in about a week or two. So we got to, back up and be certain December set the budget and back up the calendar accordingly. So it's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to look at, is just what impact that will have on the services we provide, police and fire and other programs that are available.
And following Jim will be Doran Jensen. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to dine at Jensen's yet.
I have not yet.
But if you haven't, you must.
That's what I've been told, and I'll
yeah.
maybe bring my wife for a special night
We
sometime.
go there so often that a friend of ours said, Doran just announced $900,000 in not only an addition, but really changing the interior around, and he's bought up some of the parking space and all.
Right.
And my friend said, if he puts on another room, they're probably going to call it the Alan Miller room. But it's become almost a habit for us. On the Fridays when we do our shoot, we go straight over to
Okay.
Jensen's, where
Nice
we
habit to have.
we have our favorite waitress, and they do a wonderful job. Doran,
I've heard great things. About
Doran has been a restaurateur for 35 years, and really, really knows how to run it. Even during the recession, when everybody was firing help and everything, he managed to keep his people and tough it through that
and
very
I
hard
understand
time.
he's just been great to work with too for
And
the city.
very
staff.
active in the community in terms of the restaurant community and in numerous activities.
And the word, one of the words Alan the mayor used the other day in kind of the welcoming and the commentary was the word patience, and talked about the patience that the city and the council had, and staff and folks like Doran, that and now it's finally coming to a reality, and I think that's just what makes it all the more exciting.
Of course, we have a couple of problem areas here. We had Northwest, which actually broke a promise and moved away, as corporations are wont to do, and it troubles me no end as I see what they're doing now in Memphis, the same
I
thing.
just saw that.
Where they said, well, this is going to remain our hub, and now they're just pulling out of there altogether. But don't get me started on corporations.
It's your show.
And Lockheed, which also was here. And so we have some gaps to fill.
Right. And the city's working closely with the CSM to try and sort out just exactly what the best use of that property at Yankee Doodle and Pilot Knob is, and I think we'll be able to culminate in a successful project too. So while there's pockets, it's starting to come around, and I think that's what makes it very exciting for us at City Hall and the whole community of Eagan.
Chief Scott is going to be here in 3 weeks to talk about the fire department. We have that really, really nice new headquarters, And I just saw that they're going to build another firehouse.
Well, and Chief Scott, I'm sure we'll get into it. No decision's been made on that, Alan. The action that the council took on Tuesday night was to enter into a purchase agreement to acquire, I think it's about 4 acres or so at Blackhawk and 35E, to perhaps construct a fire station. And then the idea that that Chief Scott will help address in further detail is to maybe consolidate some of our reduce some of our fire stations and have them strategically located. So that it would be, if this comes to fruition, we would have a new fire station, but the idea might be to close down 2 others and just have them centrally or equally distributed throughout the city.
Now, one of the challenges you're really going to have is when the Cablevision contract comes up for renewal. I think it's in 2015.
I think, yeah.
It's
I
was on the cable. We had a very active cable commission. We don't any longer, but we did have a very active cable commission for a number of years. As a matter of fact, it was Tom Hedges who suggested that I apply for the cable commission, that the city probably has regretted ever since, because that led to this, and actually here we are 15 years later. But Cablevision is, I am sure, not going to be willing to part with as many channels as they do now. We have a wonderful operation, and that's going to be a real fight.
And that's one of the things Tom Garrison has kind of given me a briefing on, if you will, Alan, that we're going to want to get started on just seeing what we have, kind of learn a little bit about what the expectations are, almost an analysis of what we have and where we want to go with it, and recognizing that it's a different world than what we had when cable franchises were negotiated
but it's
10, 15 years ago.
so important for this city. So if you need an intimidator, or if you need somebody to make threats, I am available.
I'll have you on speed dial,
Absolutely.
number 1.
I just was tearing what little hair I have left out last night with Cablevision, because for a change one of our sets went out right in the middle of the Twins game, as a matter of fact.
Well, hopefully they weren't winning at the time. Because if
they
maybe
were winning at the
okay.
time, and then I picked up the paper today and I see, well, they blew that one, but that's because I
Sometimes
wasn't
it's
there
okay if the cable goes out while they're
I
losing.
wasn't there to push them on. And
It's the cable's fault they lost,
That's
because you weren't there to watch, perhaps.
now you have a wealth of experience in Dakota County. That's got to stand you in good stead in this position.
Well, I hope so. A small example, I had a meeting this morning with Brant Richardson, the county administrator. We met for a cup of coffee over in Hastings as he comes to Hastings to work, and before I headed west. And just hopefully a familiarity with Dakota County, the folks that are in city or county government throughout Dakota County. Hopefully that institutional involvement in the county, I think will prove to be beneficial for my role here in Eagan.
And you're familiar with the League of Minnesota Cities as well. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, were you not selected for an award as a top administrator by the League of Minnesota Cities for cities over, what was it, 10,000?
10,000, thank you, Alan, that's correct. 2010, I believe it was, June of 2010, I had the good fortune of being awarded the Leadership Award by the League of Minnesota Cities. It was up in St. Cloud at their annual conference. The Mayor Paul Hicks and then Assistant Administrator Melanie Mesco-Lee and now the City Administrator in Hastings kind of coordinated the application, and I think I received notice of it about a month before the actual conference. And they kept it a great secret, that they had submitted the application, and then until then the fact that I had won it was a great secret. So at a council meeting they announced
Well,
it.
congratulations.
Thank you.
A little bit later, but
Very humbling. I got a nice print that if you ever come to my office, it's hung front and center, if you will.
as well it should be.
Yes, and it's kind of a neat gift too. Sometimes you get a plaque or something, but to have a nice frame print of kind of a landscaping sort of feature is a nice thing to have in one's office.
Now, when we moved to Eagan, there were 2 golf courses here. Well, one is gone, Carriage Hills, and I think housing is starting to go up there
Correct, just
now.
drove by it.
And yeah, I saw all the dirt and to use the word tumult again, but the chaos. But we also had this adventure down on Cliff with the golf course down there, and it looks like that one is going to be turned into housing also. I don't know if the court battle is over there or not, but
April 16th, the city council took, I think, 3 or 4 of their the actions needed to approve the land use changes that will allow for the construction of, I think it's 170 single-family homes. You talk about tumultuous. It was a 7-hour council meeting that night on April 16th. The council did a great job of
I hung with it until about 1:30 in the morning on Eagan TV.
Well, and I think the you might not have missed much. I think the adjournment minutes say adjourned at 1:35 or so, but a lot of credit to the council. I think there were 37 people that came up and testified. The mayor kept people on task, and then the mayor and council did a great job of kind of debating all of the issues, and heard from the developer, heard from the neighbors, as I said, and at the end of the day, some were obviously not pleased, but I think the whole process worked out pretty well after that 7-hour meeting.
I'm sorry to see the last, and I'm not a golfer,
Okay.
but I'm just sorry to see that last golf course go. I'm a bowler, and it's great because I go to Cedarville and I can walk right over to Jensen's and have dinner.
Make a good Friday night out of the deal.
Although in Cedarville, Fitz's also has a very good restaurant right in Cedarville Bowl. Are you a bowler by any chance?
I used to bowl. When I was city administrator in Waterville, Minnesota, I was on the bowling team of Denny's Bar. So every Thursday, I went down. I forget what the name of the lane. I think Symes Lanes in Waterville, Minnesota. I was a.
We may have an opening on Monday nights on my team.
Okay.
But,
I'm not very. I wasn't very good then, and I'm not now. So.
well, it's a handicap league. I am the handicap. Sharon and our other bowler, Dabo Adams, are the good bowlers.
Yeah. It's a great sport. I don't know that I've ever talked or seen anyone, as you can probably relate, Alan, that has ever gone away, got in their car after bowling and said, that wasn't fun. I mean, it's always a good time.
That's me.
Yeah. Well, maybe because you didn't do as well as you like, but by and large, it's always a fun time.
I never do as well as I
right.
imagine I am going to do.
Yeah.
And, well, it's really been a pleasure to sit and chat with you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. Well,
I hope this is the first of many visits that you will have with us.
I'll be glad to come back when schedules allow.
As we talk, we have a little bit less than a minute. What message would you like to convey to the viewers and to the people of the city?
Thank you for allowing me to be your city administrator. It's been a great 8 weeks or so. I look forward to being a part of the community as soon as we can move, and even until then, I'm trying to get engaged in the fiber of the community, and hopefully I can do as good a job as Tom and everyone else has done in this great city of Eagan. So thank you.
Well, welcome aboard, and if we can focus on Toby's book On the Way Out, I want to remind people my name was Toby. He's now got a website, and he's watching us from someplace in dog heaven, but the book is available. Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Appreciate it. Thank you.